birth tourism, big business.
We don't like it. I don't think anyone in Canada particularly likes it.
It is unfortunate nurses are not able to speak out.
Most of them, they get the Canadian passport and then they leave the country.
Is that a motivating factor for you that you get paid more than the public system?
It's like a dessert.
Wrong address. 又开拍我 Stop.
Just tell me.
I call police now.
I have lived in this particular neighborhood for 30 years. When it started, I started to look for clues, and so I started to see pamper boxes overflowing in the recycling boxes.
Carrie Starchuk lives in Richmond, BC, just outside Vancouver. She experienced firsthand a growing phenomenon when she dropped by a new neighbor's house with cookies.
It said, I hope you enjoy your new house. Come over anytime that you need help. And he took my cookies, and then I looked at the back door and there was 2 carriers, baby carriers, and pregnant women. I started to see what was happening.
Across Canada in 2018, nearly 5,000 babies were born to non-residents. That's up about 15% from the year before, and the numbers keep climbing. Many of those babies are to women who spend upwards of $30,000 to fly in from other countries, give birth, and fly home. Their babies, born on Canadian soil, are automatically Canadian citizens. Legal, but as controversial as its name, birth tourism.
So these are birth tourism houses just in your community?
Yes, in Richmond.
That's a long list.
That is.
Birth houses, where women stay when they arrive. But when a Mandarin-speaking colleague and I knock on a few doors of those supposed houses listed online,
There's someone inside, you can hear them.
people who do answer say they have no idea why their homes are on the websites.
We don't do that business.
There's no national tracking of where women are coming from, but mostly they deliver at a few hospitals in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia. Richmond Hospital is considered ground zero. Last year, nearly 1/4 of all births here, more than 450 babies, were born to non-residents. We learn the vast majority of those new moms come from China.
Hello， 大家好，我现在所在的位置呢，就是大温地区的列治文医院。
Online, we find websites promoting birth tourism in Canada, touting high-tech medical facilities, top-rated doctors.
中就是要告诉所有诱惑的好孕妈妈，其实生产呢会有很多的医护人员齐心协力的照顾。
But we discover there's a multi-million-dollar shadow industry in pockets of Canada that healthcare insiders say is stressing the system.
喂，你好。
你好，是环球宝贝吗？就是想问一下你们这边这个关于坐月子到加拿大生孩子的情况。
To learn more about what's going on, a producer poses as a pregnant mom, dials up birth tourism companies.
那主要的好处是什么呢？去这边生的好处？
还有就是，到时候宝宝如果说他高中，或者是说他大一点大学了，他要去留学。
Easier to access a Canadian university and no international tuition fees.
还有一个就是全家的计划，比如说移民，对吧？可能到我们老啦，那我们也会有更多的机会嘛。
At around 6 months pregnant, we're told, women should leave China for Canada.
我们会有非常详细的这个入境的攻略，来去给到客人的怎么去过关，海关会问什么，我们怎么来去说，我们会有培训的，这个培训是非常详细。
But it's pricey, paying the company, flights, accommodation, medical fees. It can range from $20,000 to $70,000.
然后你这边的这个医生是怎么个情况呢？
大部分选的比较多的就是列治文的这家医院，列治文医院，然后医院这边也有。
Why have you become one of the go-to doctors for this?
Language. I'm a native Mandarin speaker.
Why do you do it?
Because when the patients are here, they need medical services. You feel obliged.
When we take a closer look at the websites for birth tourism, we learn they mention several Canadian doctors, including Dr. Xinyan Wang.
Sometimes they say they want to get epidural because they don't have access to epidural in China. And some of them say they want a third baby and then it was not allowed in China.
Not many of them say, we're just here for the passport.
That's right. I rarely hear that, if at all. Yeah, but obviously you wonder, that if that would be a very common reason.
We wonder, with so many of these deliveries at Richmond Hospital, what's the impact? But the hospital sends staff a warning, directing employees not to speak to the media.
We've talked to nurses, but they're afraid to speak on camera. Why do you think that is?
It is unfortunate nurses are not able to speak out.
Despite the risk of discipline, 4 current and 2 retired nurses speak to us about their concerns. We agree not to identify them. There are times when the people living here don't get the service that they need, says one nurse. Another tells us the amount of money that's coming in doesn't make our staffing better.
I just want to read you something that one of your members has said to us. Our normal scheduled or add-on C-sections lie there all day, and then we send them home and we say, come back to them tomorrow. A private pay never goes home. She gets her C-section that day. She will be fit in somewhere because nobody wants to lose that money. That's what she told us. What do you think when you hear that?
I think that's really sad. I think it's heart-wrenching for the nurse who has been working with that mom all day.
Another nurse tells us, I think the hospital enjoys this extra income. They're kind of turning a blind eye to it, and they're liking this extra money coming in.
I think that, adding additional patients into a healthcare system that isn't staffed appropriately, isn't funded appropriately, is causing strain. There is great risk when we're stretching resources. We know if there's not enough nurses to patients, that things can get overlooked. What I hear from nurses is that, they've raised these issues and they really just feel that nobody is listening.
Nurses say that they've seen the care of private pay patients prioritized at Richmond Hospital.
For my own patients, I can definitely say it's definitely no.
They're not prioritized.
They're not. If anything, I think that we try our best to make sure the community, the Richmond residents receive adequate care first.
Non-residents coming to Richmond Hospital to give birth pay a deposit, $10,000 for a vaginal delivery, $16,000 if it's a cesarean. On top of that, they pay doctors' fees. We learn those fees can be 3 or 4 times higher than what doctors charge the public healthcare system. But there's really no limit.
May I ask, what is the fee you charge?
I think I'll keep that. Yeah.
Is that a motivating factor for you that you get paid more than the public system?
It's like a dessert. Occasional patient like this is fine and it's pretty financially rewarding. But then because they're a small percentage of our overall income.
Figures we obtained from the health authority show since 2014, 2 doctors at Richmond Hospital have delivered hundreds of babies to non-residents, potentially earning hundreds of thousands of dollars each year on top of what they bill the public system. But for some doctors, the situation is plagued with issues.
What is the experience like to collect money directly from patients?
We hate doing that. We get put in this corner that you have to go and talk to them. There's a bill that's expected to be paid.
Dr. Mudafer Al-Mudafer works at Royal Columbian Hospital, also on the outskirts of Vancouver. He gets called in to treat newborns of non-residents when they need unexpected intensive care.
So sometimes they only pay partial or none at all. And then, so most of them, they get the Canadian passport and then they leave the country.
It's up to individual doctors to make sure they get paid by birth tourists, but Al-Mudafer estimates, for him, that only happens about 30% of the time. Says other doctors are affected too.
What people are not prepared for is the early labor. Any lady can go 12 weeks early, 16 weeks early. The baby is going to require intensive care admission. And that's where you see Well, this is like, do they know what's ahead of them? Like health authorities charge non-resident of Canada $10,000 per night.
Have you had to go to parents of a sick baby where the bill is mounting day after day and say to them, you're going to face a massive bill?
Initially, they say, oh, it's a Canadian baby, doctor. The baby is Canadian, so it should be for free. They can't just come, spend the time in the intensive care, take the passport, and then off you go without paying. So that's where it becomes unfair. You know, the country that provided you with care, with everything, at least you should do your part.
Richmond Hospital is owed over $2 million due to unpaid bills since 2017. Other hospitals are out money too, but there's no clear picture of just how much across the country.
It affects the health system. We need equipments, we need to hire staff, so we need the budget. But the budget is going somewhere else as well. So it really affects the integrity of the health system and the fairness of the distribution of the resources.
Well, we don't like it. I don't think anyone in Canada particularly likes it. I think people in Canada don't like the idea that there seems to be private systems put in place that it feels like are taking advantage of us in some ways.
We've heard about unpaid bills in the tens of thousands, in the hundreds of thousands. What are you doing to ensure those bills get paid?
If any bill is unpaid, I'm concerned about that because that's money that we could and should be spending on something else or saving the healthcare system. So of course we're concerned about it. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to address people coming to this country. The only thing we can do is do what healthcare workers are obliged to do, which is to provide care when people come to the hospital and need care.
He doesn't like it, but tells us BC is doing a better job of getting money back. The Fifth Estate wanted to know specifics. That information is never shared. Some Canadian hospitals have taken steps to limit non-resident births, saying their priority is to serve people living in their communities. The health authority that runs Richmond Hospital, Vancouver Coastal Health, declines repeated requests for interviews. It emails a statement instead, saying the health authority will never deny care based on ability to pay or where a patient is from, adding, "We do expect to be compensated." When we come back, things heat up as we keep digging.
你怎么证明这是 How this is not a birth house? It's wrong.
And we meet up with a birth tourist.
What made you want to come here to have your baby?
We're investigating the shadow industry behind birth tourism, women who pay agencies to help them give birth in Canada. Their babies get a Canadian passport and all the advantages of citizenship.
Your baby will be Canadian. How do you feel about that?
给孩子一个选择的机会吧，以后。
While hitting the pavement, we run into Kathy Shee, newly arrived to give birth to her third child.
我主要考虑他以后的教育问题，上大学呀，然后这些问题。
OK。
然后以后如果想来这边生活的话，那孩子在这边出生可能也会更方便一些。
What do you say to some people who think it's not fair that women can come and have a baby and then all of a sudden the baby's Canadian? Some people say it's skipping the line.
觉得没有太多去考虑这个问题了，暂时好像也没有什么，也不会占用这边的福利啊什么的。
Kathy comes from Shandong on China's east coast. Tells us giving birth here will cost at least 55,000 Canadian.
因为这样还可以多了解这边的生活，可能会经常过来旅游，或者是居住，或者是投资。因为我觉得，因为有些他生完也不是说只是为了那个身份吧，因为肯定和这边都会有一些关联，有可能一些人会过来办理移民。
Birth tourism, big business, where pregnant mothers travel to America to make their children instant American citizens.
President Trump can't ban birthright citizenship. It's part of the American Constitution. But authorities in the U.S. are starting to crack down on the industry around it. Federal agents raided 20 birth hotels in Southern California. 19 people were charged last year. Court documents allege a multi-million-dollar underground industry where women are coached to lie at the border, carry large sums of cash.
越来越多的国内的孕妇越来越多了，尤其是今年就特别的多，就是来生这个 baby， 而且还有就是说他们觉得美国那边有点不太。
On the phone with our undercover producer, companies confirm Canada is now a more appealing destination.
待产，然后的话生完一个家宝，然后呢顺顺利利的带回去。
Unlike in the States, Canadian authorities don't appear to be investigating a legal but secretive industry. We discover an account on one of China's most popular social media platforms using Dr. Wang's name to attract expectant mothers.
This is really scary. It's so easy for people to use the information for their own personal gain.
After we tell Wang, he sends a legal letter asking the company to pull down the account.
What does this fake account make you think about the birth tourism industry?
I think that there are people who are trying to make a financial gain from the situation.
We learn the company that appears to be impersonating Wang has an office in Richmond.
Is this the place?
The company's website says it provides services to birth tourists, but the people inside claim they know nothing about that. They ask us to leave.
Why won't you tell us what you're doing with the company?
When we check out one of the homes the company listed online as a birth house,
怎么证明这是 How this is not a birth house? It's wrong.
we meet a man who lives there. He's listed as a director of the company that kicked us out, but denies he has any connection to birth tourism.
Wrong address. 又开拍我 Stop.
Just tell me.
I call police now.
I think it's something that the provincial government or federal government there must be things they can do to at least regulate it better.
You know, people will hear you say that and think, really does he not want to be doing this? Because you're making a lot of money.
Like I said, for our overall income, it's not a life-changing percentage.
I agree with people's frustration. One of the frustrations I've had is that there have been federal politicians of both political parties in Canada, conservative and liberals, on the government side, who raise and have tried to make this a big issue. And while they complain about it and they point at the healthcare system sometimes, haven't taken any action.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to present a petition on behalf of nearly 9,000 Canadians regarding...
In 2016, the Conservatives wanted to make changes to citizenship laws.
This petition asks the government to introduce legislation that requires at least one parent to have Canadian citizenship or resident status before granting their child citizenship.
The Liberals petitioned 2 years later.
Birth tourism exploits our generous public health care and social security systems and violates Canadians' sense of fairness.
More recently, the Conservatives called for an end to automatic citizenship for people born here, then dropped it during the lead-up to the 2019 election. Canada is one of only about 30 countries in the world that grants birthright citizenship. The Fifth Estate requested an interview with the Federal Minister of Immigration appointed in November. Our request was declined. In a statement, the ministry said, while birth tourism is not widespread, the Government of Canada recognizes the need to better understand this practice. So it wants more research.
What are we looking at numbers? What are they going to look? What are they going to look for? Are they going to wait till it's 8,000, 80,000? What's the magic number? It's an issue.
I did write letters to different politicians over the past, let's say, 7 years. All what you get is electronic auto reply, will write back to you, and then nobody writes back.
Kathy's baby was due last month. She told us she's headed back to China shortly.